Hi everyone, I'm Paige Abbott and this is your weekly recovery message. I wanted to talk today about the expectation cycle. So when we're carrying an expectation that somebody will say a certain thing, do a certain thing, that a situation will not, then what we anticipate is that everything will go according to plan. But of course, when it doesn't, because that's life and that's reality, then control kicks in. So manipulation, anything basically that can be done to perpetuate that outcome that we are expecting. When that sometimes doesn't work, often it does not, or even if it does to a certain extent, it still doesn't fulfill the entire expectation. That's when resentment gets generated. So we feel disappointed, we feel angry, let down, hurt, resentful. All of these sorts of emotions can come up, so it's a pretty painful experience. And then in this cycle also can arise shame. So feeling perhaps quite low for the behaviors that kicked in around control, even carrying expectations, and expectations and control lead us to act and be people that we're not. So that can generate a huge amount of shame. And then the cycle continues. So when shame is there, then we often are expecting something will happen or we can do a certain thing to take that uncomfortable feeling away. This may involve acting out with certain substances or behaviors, which usually has limited impact and limited result, and the cycle continues. So the cycle of expectation is very toxic, it's very dysfunctional, and it's really not a cycle that we need to be on. I totally believe that we can live happy, healthy, productive lives without needing expectation at all. We can survive and thrive just wonderfully in the realm of hope and goals. We can have goals, but goals and hopes, they're much more flexible, they're less rigid, and we're not tied to a very particular outcome. We may have a general notion of the direction that we want to go in, but hopes and goals leaves flexibility for the process along the way. So it's important to challenge yourself to keep stepping out of this cycle of expectation regardless of where you're at. So challenging yourself to step into the cycle of letting go, which is where we identify our needs, our hopes, our goals, and we put in the action that we need to. So this involves some degree of looking at the tools in the Serenity Prayer. Where do we need to act and where do we need to step back and acknowledge that we don't have any power or influence over something? As we continue to do that, then we also need to look at the feelings that come up. So even in the letting go cycle, there can still be hurt or sadness or pain or discomfort that comes up, because the cycle of letting go doesn't mean that life is going to be free-flowing and always feel rejuvenating and comfortable, that there's always going to be challenges along the way. But if we're in that cycle of letting go, we're more in the process and we're also feeling our feelings. And within this cycle, shame is also less because we're acting authentically. We're being assertive, we're communicating what we need, mostly to ourselves, sometimes externally, but we're taking action on what we need to follow through on for ourselves. And that's very empowering and that's very freeing. So the cycle of letting go is identify those hopes, those goals, those needs, be assertive with them, so be clear within yourself what they are and take the necessary action. Let go of the people, places, and things where you don't have the ability to act and feel the feelings along the way. Hopefully you can keep encouraging yourself to stay in this cycle and catch yourself when you've defaulted back to the cycle of expectation. And the number one clue, if you're in the cycle of expectation, is if you're feeling a sense of resentment, then you're in that cycle of expectation, because resentment doesn't come when we're in that cycle of letting go, because we're not specifically attached to any particular outcome. So the things that happen along the way, we're able to cope with them and we're able to roll with them to a certain extent, whereas in the expectation cycle, we can't. We're very focused on that particular outcome, and when it doesn't happen, we're resentful. I wish you the best in your ongoing journey of recovery for the week. Bye for now.